After a stronger than expected opening day or two last week, the Fantastic Four started to slide at the box office already in its opening weekend, and in the all-important second weekend, the one which showcases word of mouth, the movie fell off a cliff. And adding insult to injury, even the usually supportive trade are coming after Marvel. Let's see how. Many were hoping that Marvel's Fantastic Four First Steps would have a hold similar to that of the Thunderbolts, a movie which only dropped 56% in its second weekend, but which still flopped, because that was a 56% drop from a much lower than expected opening weekend. Fantastic Four, by contrast, opened so much higher that with a similar, or ideally even lower second weekend drop-off, it might be fine. Alas, as of the making of this video, the projections are that Fantastic Four is going to drop by 66 or so %, which is right around the drop-off for the abominable Captain America Brave New World. And having a drop in that general range is obviously bad news, not just for the Fantastic Four, but for the future of the MCU, because this was the last chance for audiences to get excited for Avengers Doomsday. Yes, there is of course Wonder Man still to come on Disney+, but that is going to be Ironheart all over again, and over on the Sony side of things, there's a new Spider-Man movie coming next summer, which is filming now, and which will feature both Mark Ruffalo's Hulk and Jon Bernthal's Punisher. Unless it's delayed, this will come out before Avengers Doomsday, but the one movie they really needed to click, the one most directly setting up the Avengers, was Fantastic Four, and by way of indicating repeat views and continued audience interest, the second weekend drop-off shows that it didn't click with anywhere near enough of the movie-going audience, so that just might be a challenge. But the box office is challenging for comic book movies in general now, something I maintain is the direct result of Hollywood in general and the MCU in particular having gone all in on girl bosses and DEI. But rather than expanding the audience with more female viewers and everyone else who isn't straight, white and male, the audience contracted big time as a direct result, and the ones who bowed out in the biggest numbers when Marvel went female-centric were the women who already were watching. We saw this very clearly in The Marvels, a movie that was shunned by everyone, but by none more so than women, and we see it now in the Fantastic Four First Steps. Despite the elevated position of Sue Storm, despite the Silver Surfette being a girl boss, the female audience stayed away. Or perhaps those are the exact reasons why they stayed away. Let me know if you think female centricity is actually a female repellent in the comments right now. And it's not just female audiences. The family audience is also not attending the movie in the numbers that Disney and Marvel needed, nor are they for that matter in the numbers that they are for Superman. As Cosmic Book News points out, the percentage of families that went to see Marvel's Fantastic Four was at 17%, compared to Superman's 31%. The average for families seeing a PG-13 movie also happens to be 21%, so we see families avoid Fantastic Four, but again, more went to see Gunn's DCU debut. And even so, the numbers aren't what Warner and DC probably would have liked, though James Gunn himself did address the amended expectations for his movie in the Times of London spin piece from before the movie opened. He said then, "There were a few glory years when Marvel could put out anything and it would make 650 million. But those days are gone. Now it has to be something that really grabs an audience." The entire market has taken a downturn. That's why it's okay that Superman is drawing fewer butts in seats than did Man of Steel more than a decade ago, because it's a different world now. Still, James Gunn was almost taken to task by some when he said this a month ago. Now, the trades are saying pretty much the same thing. In a July 30th piece, Variety writes that the days when Marvel movies regularly could be expected to pull in $1 billion or even $600 million are over. There's a reset of what a hit is, and I don't see them consistently hitting 1 billion as before, without China, with Disney Plus exposure, post-lockdown, without megastars, says one top agent who represents several clients in the Marvel universe. China used Marvel, Disney, and the US film industry to seed their own. Adds one insider of the lost China windfall. We are never going to have those days again. China, of course, was never something they should have relied on, as most studios are lucky to get as much as 10% of the Chinese gross. The rest stays with the CCP. Keeping any more requires entering Faustian deals with the CCP, which massively increases the corporation's overall risk and exposure in China, something Disney knows all too well, as the CCP can confiscate their Shanghai and Hong Kong resorts at the drop of a dime, if they ever see fit to do so for whatever reason. Everyone knows this, and no one has invested as heavily in China as Disney, so this very much so is the trades casting shade at them more than anyone else in Hollywood. But leaving China aside, they are right, we are unlikely to have those days again, and that is entirely due to Marvel resorting to DEI in order to expand the already massive and diverse audience they had. And them doing so only resulted in their audience fleeing and no one else joining. That being said, their massive audience is still out there. They're just waiting to be activated, and if they are, they will return. We have proof of that in last year's Deadpool and Wolverine. An R-rated movie no less, which did what almost no other Marvel movie has done for years, namely give the audience what they always wanted, and it performed like a pre-lockdown Avengers movie for it. Make more movies like that, and that box office could in principle return, but the reason it won't is because Marvel has no intention of making such crowd pleasers anymore. Case in point, the title of this very variety piece is Marvel's Next Moves, Black Panther 3 and a young X-Men cast to keep the costs down. Blade and Deadpool 4 are lower priorities. And the piece proper reads, amid an industry-wide pullback on superheroes, the Marvel brain thrust is feeling no sense of urgency on the long-gestating Blade reboot or even a new Deadpool outing, sources say. That only goes to show that the Marvel brain thrust has shit for brains, because the biggest movie they possibly could make now is another Deadpool in the style of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I sincerely doubt Avengers Doomsday is going to outgross it. And in terms of sheer return on investment, the most profitable movie they could make now would be an R-rated Blade, because all you need is Wesley Snipes in leather.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
And a simple story which sees him go all Jason Voorhees on scores and scores of vampires. Make it for 30 million and swim in cash, as it easily collects 600 million. But they're not doing that, as the piece continues. However, ideas are percolating on a Ryan Coogler-helmed Black Panther 3, creating excitement internally.
You serious?
But as we established, internally they have shit for brains and lost complete touch with their audience, because they ruined the Black Panther brand by going female-centric in Black Panther 2, keep the water Mexicans out of Wakanda forever. That movie made $500 million less than the original Black Panther, and given that Black Panther 3 will come from the same brain thrust that gave us Ironheart, I see no reason to have faith they will fix any of the mistakes they did in the previous sequel. Do you? If so, let me know in the comments. And before you go, please smash that like, and subscribe if you haven't done so already.